Okay, what this is going to be is I went back to my old directory of my old Starships designs, and I am going to look at the slideshow of some of the old Star Trek designs that I chose. Most of them are in there, and look back on them. It turns out I haven't done a Starship design thing in some time on the computer. I made the models later on for Chimera and Starship locations and destinations without using any plans, really. I think the SDF-3A from the other show did have plans, and it was based on something, but to an extent. But the models didn't really have specific plans. You'll notice that many of these models in this slideshow have similarities to the classic works of mainly TNG guys, but only because it's inspired. You'll also notice that there's sort of a pre-Bill Krause Enterprise F that looks surprisingly like the Shangri-La class. I didn't see the Shangri-La class really until he was more in the know. So, yeah. This is a ship in space over a star. Stop a little bit on that one. It's one of them. I'm not going to name all the names of all of them because there's probably a Chimera type of thing there. But before the Chimera. So because it's probably the original OG Chimera, the one from the, but it doesn't really look like it, does it? It's got sort of a part taken out of the saucer there, different. I think, oh, that looks like the World Raiser from Star Trek Picard season 2 a little bit. It can't be. This model is from 20 years ago, drawing, and so it can't be. It just happens to do the thing. I like how it's got the doubled up nacelle blocky thing, very similar to the current Chimera ships. It has apparently some sort of weird photon launcher thing / RKS thruster thing in the very front. Maybe those are ports. I'm not sure. The deflector dish is very small, which is interesting. It's probably some sort of dreadnought, would be my guess. The model is called. What is the name of it? I can enlarge the size and see what the name of the ship is at least. The next ship is the Flyer, the Evergreen Flyer, the original Evergreen Flyer from Evergreen College, the original hero ship of the Location 2 meets Star Trek, Silly Trek saga. Gone on to college from high school. High school was Silly Trek, and high school Robo-Silly, and then Silly Trek. Transformers, of course, and Robotech. Champions and Robotech. We were Marvel all the way back then. Before Marvel was Disney. Anyway, so here is the Flyer, and it is the ship of the hero ship of the Flyer newspaper. It is sort of a sail barge on top and bottom ship thing. Now, when we did the model in the current model, made it look like the Starbug Spacefly. The current actual physical model, sort of like turned those sails out onto the nacelles, and put them above the nacelles because that made more sense. Why would it need sails in space? But the design is similar. The hull, primary hull is similar. The saucer section looks to be very much like the classic OG movie Enterprise, a little bit, but slightly smaller and more compact. The engines look to be like refit Enterprise 2270 engines, and it just has the engines off to the side, a bit like the Fossa ships. It's a little Fossa. Yeah, there's a little influence from Fossa off the various versions. So yeah, that's the Flyer. That's that ship. I'm going to pause. Go on to what amounts to the next Flyer ship. Yeah. So Here we have another version of the Flyer. Here we have another version of the Flyer ship. This version of the Flyer ship has, as from top view, down looking on it, the saucer looks smaller, but I think it's still supposed to be OG, sort of classic Trek movie era looking saucer. Or the Silly Trek thing was like, there were 3 disparate universes going on at the same time. In Silly Trek, it was, if it was, say, in the case of the Flyer, 1992, it was also roughly 2292, and it was also Next Generation era. It was also 2360, 68, 69, somewhere around there, for that era as well. All at the same time, because there was a time warp flux thing going on. But the Q gave the children of Pine Hill Q powers in order to annoy Picard, because he didn't like children, and launch the entire Cillian realm. So there we go. There's a Flyer, and they were the college students, the Starfleet Academy students, going on their adventures. So here is another shot of the Flyer ship from the other picture. It looks like it's more of a close-up. It has slightly different coloring. Probably just because the other one was blacked out around the edges, and I believe all of these were re-rendered in Photoshop 3 back in the day, in the 2000s. So they are extremely blown up to make them look like something. And this Flyer here is the ship thing, and really, yeah, that's about it for that one. You can see some of the details, some of the blue lines where you're going to mark where the polygons go and all that. So you have the rudimentary beginnings of a 3D drawing there, but I never went further than that in the class. So, so this is all you get. Here's another shot of the Flyer from the side, still resembling the other one, but apparently I was trying to emulate what it would look like from the side, from the it's port and starboard, so it's from the starboard side, and the saucer there looks more classic Trek, like it's a classic, than the movies, but the engine looks movie era, so maybe it's just that it didn't color it in. The impulse deck and the other thing looks a little different, but that could just be, didn't catch that. It's an earlier design, so it's not completely screwy. So that's the Flyer from the side, and it's interesting. But it kind of has a similar profile to the bug ship that comes later, so updated it. Because I can visualize what it would look like in 3D and then build the model, but without having to actually CAD render something that I don't know how to CAD render. Okay, this one says it's a 1997 render of the Enterprise A. 1997 render of the Enterprise A for the 30th anniversary, and that is not bad. But that's a hand drawing, so it was better with the hand drawings. Well, back then you had something called the koala pad or some equivalent. Now it's called a bamboo pad, and you had like you could draw on the pad and put that in the computer. This is a hand drawing that's been scanned in. It's a hand drawing. Did better with the hand drawings. The hand drawing of the ship, it looks like the Enterprise. All of the proportions are pretty much correct. It's even got an effect, the effect from the show where they're sort of 3D effect, like you're looking at a bowed camera lens, one of those fisheye lens, kind of at the ship as it goes, it's kind of cool. They're very cool. 30th anniversary Star Trek drawing. It's got the shuttlecraft from the Star Trek 5 and Star Trek 6. It's got, but yeah, it's there used to be an Enterprise D model in there. So, I'm not sure why I drew colored in the deflector dish really dark blue, but I did. Anyway, yeah. So we have it's not bad. At 30th anniversary. Also, at that point, Starship Locations was Starship Locations. At that point, the reboot in 1996 was at Starship Locations and Starship Locations. So we're gonna and First Contact had come out. So this is a reference to that, I believe, as well. And the parody of First Contact, in which it's First Contact with Silly Trek and Pine Hill, and instead of it being Picard and the Enterprise E and crew going back to stop the Borg from incurring on Zephyr Cochrane, they go back to stop the Borg from incurring on Picard's meeting with Q, Captain Kirk, and Pine Hill back in 1988. So they go back to 1988 Earth, and they encounter us in 1988 as high school students, and the Enterprise E people have to prevent the Borg from destroying Pine Hill, and thus the entire Cillian universe that Q created in 1988 from their perspective, 1996, and from the Next Generation perspective, 2373, and from the Classic Trek perspective, 2296 roughly. So yeah, so it's 2296, 1996. Then they go back in time to prevent. So the other crews encounter the past crews of themselves, and it causes a paradox. The genesis of Cillian realms, basically. And this ship is no different. I think that's what that's from. And there's an Enterprise D one, I think, in there. Oh, there's a lot to absorb there. Oh my goodness. There's a lot to absorb there. Okay. This is a 1990s pencil drawing as well. Very interesting Star Trek design that I would like to redo. I'm going to redo this. Maybe not as the Enterprise G. There, it looks. I was probably trying for. Okay, well, the Enterprise J from. Well, that hadn't happened yet. That's right. This is only 1997. So I wanted to make it bigger and bigger and badder. Basically, sort of like they did the Enterprise F in the games many decades later in 2010. So this is only 1996, and there's a cutaway front saucer section, kind of see that World Razor thing, way before then, 1996, and here you have sort of an IDIC symbol or Star Trek symbol turned around backward into the hull. It's a Star Trek symbol. That's actually what it is. And then you have sort of on top, it's an IDIC symbol. It's the saucer section. It's been flipped around. It's incredibly silly, but I like it. I like that. I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna do that again in 3D, and it's gonna look bad. It's gonna look cool. I'm gonna do that again. Well, I'm gonna do it in 2D with assisted CAD, not in 3D. I don't have a 3D thing emulator. I'll do it in 2D, but it'll be cool. Yeah, I like it. It's reminiscent of the Las Vegas and the other ones. And it says the 50th anniversary 2016. But I guess it was a future timeline in the Cillian universe where they go to visit the Enterprise F. I think at that point the ship was under Captain Wesley Crusher as well. Yeah. So, but yes. But yeah. Us, the detractors will be like, oh no. Anyway, it does look really cool. I like it. And it was back in the 90s. It was done, it says 2016, but it was the 90s. When it was drawn, was the 90s. And you were playing it forward. It was the 30th anniversary. It was playing it forward and saying, 20 years from now, this is what it's going to look like. No, not quite. No. The break in the hull in the back of it is turned around, and it broken off a little bit, and it looks like, okay. So, okay. So, next we come to the Enterprise D model from Starship Locations from Silly Trek. The Enterprise D model that traveled back into time to meet Kirk, and Q did it. Back in time to meet Kirk and Q and go to Pine Hill and meet us, causing the timeline 2288, 1988, and 2364, around just before the Academy. And this is the Enterprise D. This is the other ship in that set. Those two ships really should have been together, but I'm not going to go back and fix it. They're just in here like that. And that is actually a decent Enterprise D. It's a drawing. It's a deadline pencil drawing. It looks like it. I like it. That's pretty good. I mean, it's pretty good for that time period. Definitely. Yeah. I like it. Enterprise D, and it was destroyed in 2371, but on the planet, and then recovered in the other timeline that is Picard. If it is, it's probably not the same time. Anyway, so the Enterprise D, there it is, and then rebuilt. Yeah, so 1997. Okay, next is a ship called the Orion with that breakaway saucer thing again. That was so beloved by the John Eves people. Yeah, it's there too. So, but that makes sense because John Eves was one of the guys that did the Enterprise E. So this is back in the 1990s, and this ship is for, I believe, the Romulan episode, the Romulan episode, in Starship locations we pretend to be Romulans and Klingons on a couple of ships from the first press series. At this point, we've involved the church group, the Real World San Jose. We've involved the church group in Starship locations, and half of them go off on adventures. So we have this episode where I go on the ship in disguise, and the ex-girlfriend, she's on the ship in disguise, and we're on the ship, and we gotta go find the bad guys, stop the bad guys, and the mirror universe shows up, and it becomes a mess. This was rewritten several times, different stuff. It finally ended up in Starship Destinations as the Medusa ship in that weird mirror universe episode we just did. So it ended up being rewritten as that. After several rewrites, it became sort of that. It works. It works as that. But in this version, it was different. It was a mirror universe. It was a direct invasion of the Federation. It would have been silly. It would have been very reminiscent of the DC Comics, Star Trek comics that kind of did that. I wasn't necessarily copying it. I was paying homage. As for the ship, it's an interesting looking ship that I would redo. It looks like a smaller ship. It doesn't look very big. Fat and stubby nacelles, but that's probably just the angle. The angle's a little weird. There's also another angle, port side angle there, and some other angles a little bit in the drawing. It's a art drawing. But yeah, kind of looks like a Christmas ornament. That's the Orion. Yeah, I don't think it was ever featured in any of the later stuff after the rewrites, but I think it does appear in the Realms as a story, part of the story. The Romulan holiday story. That's where that's from. Yeah, because we were thinking of the Romulan stuff before there was ever any inkling of a supernova. And all that other stuff. All that J.J. Abrams stuff. He was just reading our shit, and he was just copying it. Anyway, pause again. But yeah, we've got like... Now, in the Starcrackers series, fan series, sand movies, novels, there's a blocky ship. Blocky ship looks like a box with a box on top of it, which it kind of was, with the engine stuck on the back. It's Joshua Browne. The ship named for the kid Joshua Browne, who died in 1988. It's all connected to Cillian space as well. He died. The Enterprise D people find out about this and make up a holodeck program where he's alive. That also leads to the Libyan, the creation of the Libyan, who later gets renamed the Elysian, as well. That happens in the Cillian story. And in Silly Trek, that was established that people that are dead can come back to life. That's where he was the first, Joshua Browne. We never get to see him really. There was cut out of the Cillian Realms thing because that is a little tasteless. But but other versions of that idea have popped up that weren't tasteless, like Thad Riker or whatever, who turns out is just Jay Bonham playing Thad Riker, which makes a whole lot more sense. So yeah, even though he's a little old to be Thad Riker, which they also point out, you're like almost 40. Wouldn't you be like 16 or 18 or something. Anyway, so yeah, but yeah, over here we're way older than that. So this is the Joshua Browne is envisioned as a Star Trek ship. Again, it's a pencil drawing. I do better with pencil drawings, with the scanned in, with the visual either off to the side or towards you or whatever, 3D kind of thing. Do better with that because you're basically taking something that's kind of straight and going and drawing in the details. You know. It's not like you have to do the whole round saucer and all that. So it's a little detailed. And there's again that notched out front end thing design. It's very similar to that other one. The idea of like notching out the saucer and putting like a little gallery thing in there and a little extra, not a shuttle bay, not weapons, but sort of a goofy Big Ten forward in there just to have parties, I guess. But yeah, Pine Hill ship, Cillian ship. Yeah, very colorful looking. Yeah, I could stand to redo that. But I probably wouldn't call it the Josh Browne anymore though, because this is a little weird. This was 10 years after that event, and 1998 in the story, and yeah. Anyway, there's the ship. There it is. The Joshua Browne as a Star Trek ship. Make it look better. Yeah. Big fat engines right up next to the hull, or possibly just above it. I don't know what these little louver things in the back of the engines are. Are they like massive shuttle bays or windows? I don't think they're windows. I think they're, like deflector, transporter deflectors or something. Maybe it's slipstream drive. It could be that. It could be slipstream drive. Yeah. You can go anywhere. Okay, then we get to the ridiculous. Pause, though, before that. Okay. Okay, holy... Okay, Cosmic... Okay, the next ship is the Cosmic Class Enterprise Z. The terminal shock deal kind of thing. This is before... Keep in mind, this is before Enterprise. This crazy drawing with this ship with... Looks like it has 3 giant nacelles, but looks like it has 80 little nacelles inside the 3 giant nacelles on each side. And it could probably go warp 1 million, which is impossible. Of course, then there was Where No One Has Gone Before, where the Traveler helped the Enterprise D to leave this galaxy, leave the Andromeda Galaxy, and go visit the Triangulum Galaxy. So there the ship was able to translate all the way into 3 different millions of light years away. So, yeah. So, or was it, yeah, they were going to allegedly the Triangulum Galaxy. It was probably only satellite galaxies, though. It probably was a large Magellanic Cloud and then the Triangulum Galaxy. That's probably how they were headed, actually. But yeah. Where for I to discover whether Star Trek was accurate or not in that way. But yes, this is the amazing, super duper, they ran out of letters, Enterprise Z, where it's supposed to be like the size of a small planet. This is partly inspired, of course, by Will Kendrick, the classic Marx Cards character, who had drawn a giant Unicron-sized, doubly Unicron-sized, triply Unicron-sized, gigantic robot thing that had arms and legs and a head and everything. And it was supposed to be, Jupiter was supposed to be his little toe. So, it's like Galactus, basically. But, yeah, but, no. So, yeah, the Universe-class Enterprise can go warp 10 million. Universe-class. Cosmic-class Enterprise. 1998. Keep in mind, Enterprise hadn't thing yet. Enterprise was probably in pre-production as they were gearing toward the end of Deep Space Nine in 1999, and then on to the end of Voyager in 2001. So, and then the launch of Enterprise. Oh, this is a strange and fun drawing here. We have a little bit of throwback to 1997. Another line drawing, similar to that other one in that the angle is easy to do because it's just 2 straight lines, and then you fill in everything. So you have the stage prop, which is a very interesting design too. I don't mind that other ship or this one. It's reminiscent of a Saber class a little bit. It's got a little bit of the that other ship too, the Akira class, a little bit in there. Drexler and Eves again, a little bit of Drexler, but yeah, it's definitely inspired. If it had more details up near the saucer, it would be Saber class. Yeah, the thing from First Contact had happened like 2 years earlier, so probably inspired a little bit. But interestingly enough, the engines appear to be classic Trek. And I know that the name comes from Silly Trek, from the role-playing game from high school. So this is what this would imagined what it would look like had we drawn it in '88, but it was drawn in '98, 10 years later. And that's just, or '97, 8 years later, 9 years later. And yeah, I kind of like that one too. I would do a new version of that one. Do that for Tim Nielsen's ship, one of the kids from Pine Hill. It was his ship. But yeah, so if you imagined what a TOS era version of the Saber class would look like, there it is. That's what it'll look like from the TOS movie era. That's if they had an earlier version of it. That's kind of what it would look like. And I like how the primary hull is kind of inset into it, and how if an enemy attacked it from the front or the side, it would be deflected off. It's kind of that makes more sense than having a giant hole underneath the ship. Just have like packed in there like a Defiant variant kind of thing, where it's all in there, and you have to shoot at it to actually hit it. Yeah. Well, in space they don't need to have. Actually, it looks like more like the Browne too, the other one. Yeah, pretty similar. But yeah, I like that. It has. I'll do all these ships again. Why not? But we'll see. There is a version of this. You should name something else. In the current Starship Destinies, you'll recognize the variant version of this as the Jason David Frank. So there is a version of this. Jason David Frank. So there you go. So there is a version. But yeah. Okay. Another ridiculously large, where it's like, okay, I'll just give it 1 million saucer engines. Yeah. This is the USS Universe. Galactic Starship. The USS Universe in warp 10 million. I just decided to go even bigger. Around 99 or so, looks like. What does it say it is? It says it's oh my goodness. It says it goes warp 69.95, and it has a crew of 1 million. So it's a Robotech Macross 7 ship basically, but it's also incredibly large and incredibly long. And this is before the Enterprise J. Although notice that it kind of looks like the Enterprise J, the Drexler ship. Interesting. Yeah. Now, some of my fan stuff was up on the internet for a while back in the early 2000s. So, but I'm not saying he took it. I'm saying he just came up with a similar design. It's completely similar because Shangri-La. Yeah. We took the other guy. So, but that was later. Well, yeah. Krause had the TOS Shangri-La stuff at conventions and stuff, and on his websites. Oh boy, we're just kind of coming up with these gigantic, boing, with them ridiculously oversized ships. Here is the USS Paradox. I gotta do that one. That is just really cool. And it's a different angle. But it's the top down. It's on the back of the hull, and it looks like it has, well, made in terms of major engines, and probably millions of little ones. It has 3 engines on each side, maybe 4 engines on each side. It's got millions of little ones, and I like it. I'm gonna do that one over too. Looks like the Batmobile, kind of the Batwing. No, and it does have the chips out of the saucer. So, what if Krauss was around back then? He must have been. Yeah, he was doing other models online and stuff way before 2015. 2015 and 2016 is just when Krauss and Drexler and the others hired him, but he was helping out on Star Trek '09 and probably earlier. So it wasn't like he would have known. There were a bunch of other fan stuff out there too. And he was not actually cribbing from Fossa, according to him. He was coming up with his own stuff. I was not cribbing from Fossa either. I was Ships of the Line and Starship creator is what I was messing with. Let's see what we have. But this was the Paradox, an NX class ship. Apparently designed to time travel, similar to the time ship from the Relativity and the other ship from Voyager. So that's what's going on there. Voyager, the actual Voyager, Captain Janeway's ship, the Voyager. Drawn up in '98 as well. These are very old. This is the Starship Voyager, and I mean the nacelles a little stubbier than they actually are. But it emulates the Voyager as though it was done in a cartoon, like Lower Decks style Voyager. It's cartoon. Yeah, it has a 3D emulation going on, but it's a drawing. It's a pencil drawing, and yeah, kind of funky. I mean, you wouldn't mistake it for anything else other than the Voyager. It has all the RKS thrusters in the right place. It doesn't have the blinky lights in the right place, the red light and the green light, but that's okay. It's apparently not at warp. It doesn't have its vertical engines up. It's not at warp. It's just cruising. Okay. Next we come to slightly later in the universe. Ships, probably the end of the 90s, early 2000s. A very interesting looking little ship that seems reminiscent of the Enterprise era spaceships. It's not named. It is signed, but not named. Flying over a planet in the distance with a slight ring system. It's interesting. I'll redo that one too. I think I would do the saucer differently than it is there. It looks like a smashed clam. Probably do something else. the clam shape. And it's a pencil drawing too. Yep. Yeah, it's cute. It's fine. I'm not sure who I did it for. If I did it for anybody, commissioned. I don't think it was commissioned. No. It does have an IDIC symbol, sort of lower section, reminiscent of the Enterprise E with the slung engines. Because if you sling the engines forward and looked underneath and had a thing, if you do it the other way, it looks like a plucked turkey. Don't do that. But yeah, that's the this ship. Do I have any other information on it? Oh, that's a clue. The title card says it's a 2002 rendition of a ship called the Overcoming, a First Press ship / Christ Community Church ship. The Overcoming. That would have been Boyd's first, Scott Boyd's first ship that he served on after the Chimera. So he went on to be on that ship. That's the Boyd's, that's his ship, Scott's ship. Scott Boyd, of course, is Scott Boyd's. And Scott Boyd is one of the Star Trek Online people currently. So it's awesome. In lieu of that, there's a Chimera in Star Trek Online. And they didn't get it from Deep Space Nine. They got it from somebody else. Did it? It's not exactly our ship, but yeah, that's what they're thinking of. They're thinking Silly Fry, of course. But yes, the only thought of me there would be to put us on Star Trek hang out. Hasn't happened yet. This computer can't handle it. I tried to put it on there last year, and it crashed. It couldn't take it. Yeah. It doesn't have a camera and all that extra stuff. Yeah, just for playing video games. But here, yeah, the Overcoming the Church Ship from the Silly Trek spinoff, which was mainly church adventures. It wasn't really a Star Trek. It became more like they go on church adventures. That some elements of it appear in the Starship Silene Realms, but not so much because most of them went off and got married. The cast, and they're like, well, we don't necessarily want to be included in that anymore. You know, you can mention us on occasion, but yeah, but yeah. So yeah, looking at this 2002 ship. Yeah, yeah, it's a fun little drawing. I think it's been blown up a little bit for this. The JSU Trek 17th anniversary Young Saw, also the early 2000s, I assume. It doesn't look anything like the sort of Galaxy class, New Orleans class variant with the 4 engines. It looks more like that Universe class thing, Terminal Shock thing, but a more realistic saucer section, kind of an oval. Enterprise E looking saucer section, very John Eves. It's not John Eves though. I like it as a design. It would work as a design of a starship. It definitely influenced the later Chimeras. It does look a lot like the Chimera from the 2003, 2002, 2003. Incidentally, if you were to do the silly Trek math there, the first Chimera voyages with Cards and Kat, or Halter and Hazel and Halter. Mark's Cards being Halter and me being Hazel in the story. The first or Kal Hazel or Holocat took place in 2002, 2003, and that lines up with the Lower Decks current series is 2380s, 2381 to 2383, somewhere around there, and Prodigy, so because it would be exactly 170 years after, and of course the classic Trek, it would be, if in that time period, would be the 2280s to No, no. That's right. It would be 2302 and 2303 would line up with 2002 and 2003. Also, it would line up with 2002 and 2003. It would be 2397. It'd be a little earlier. It wouldn't quite be there. It'd be right during and after Nemesis. 2002 should line up with Nemesis. But in a year or so, it lines up with Lower Decks. That's it, yeah. 2004. So lines up with Lower Decks. 2004, 2005. Yeah, the classic Trek would be 2304, 2305. Anyway, so this ship is from the 2002 period, roughly. Looks like. But it says 17th anniversary of Jongswan, the school. So it's their ship. 17th anniversary. See, that would be the original Academy. That would be 1985. If they listed to 2005, it would have been 20 years, but they didn't go all the way to 2005. They moved. So 2017, 2003, 2002, 2003, 17 years. So yeah, that would have been right about when that was, and that's just the ship. So I don't even know who captained it. I am assuming the Grandmaster was captaining the ship. This one just says 1999 Trek ship. The base of drawing looks very much like the Relativity. I don't think it was intentional though. I think I was trying for weird spaceship that has lots of weird Babylon 5-y lines. And it was like a Star Trek version of the Norlon ship from Babylon 5. And I think that's what I was thinking. Because that's what it looks like. It should have the little flares in the back. They're shaped like their heads for some reason. It's a Babylon 5 ship as a Star Trek ship. So yeah, it is cool. It's just, yeah, I like it. I think if I redesigned it, I would have it be a little less flat. It looks like it's really flat and sleek and wouldn't have very many decks. But yeah, it's sort of a pseudo-defiant, but really futuristic. Kind of like the flares, the very Drexlery looking, very Eves looking. As if the Enterprise E had a baby with a Babylon Morlon ship. Anyway, so yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Pause. Now, next ship is the Enterprise XO1, the retconned in Enterprise from that era. Drexler ship. Not a bad render of it as a drawing. It emulates the ship, and that's where they got the cutout design from. That's from that. Because they put the deflector dish in there. That's where they got that other ship from, the World Razor, from the Enterprise NX-01. Maybe it's just a mirror one. I don't know, but yeah, that is the NX-01 Enterprise, and a drawing of it. It's very obviously that. It kind of goes with those other two Enterprise drawings in a way. It's probably meant to be the Columbia from Save Enterprise from Chimera from 2005. However, I would say that, but it's before that. It's looks like 2001. It's way before we did the Save Enterprise. Didn't work. There's the ship. There's the Enterprise 2001. Later became the Columbia and Chimera. But also the Chimera, Star Trek Discovery started in that same era, but 100 years after the Enterprise, because we moved it up 100 years. And also the Axonar people, who are not connected in any way, they also did that. And then we come to the... it's interesting looking. The next ship is the Scarsborough, 2001 as well. Looks very Enterprise era, with a little bit of the jellyfish ship saucer section looking thing from Star Trek, the space jelly, the star jelly ship looks like that. Top, trying for a more angled thing, trying to do circles from the top, trying to be a little different. Clearly learning the different ways to show the art style directly. The circle is good. It's almost a circle. Large impulse engines. It is named for a Jung Swan person named Jennifer Paquette. It's allegedly her ship in the distant future. She comes back through time to rescue the Clark and the other Icilians from time trap by the evil board. So that's what the story's about. Goes back in time with the help of Sandra Talisman goes back and rescue the crew from space. That's what happened. That's what that's from. It's a Cillian episode. They're all Cillian stories. They're all Starship locations. This is a Jung Swan one. There was that other one too. There should be a Jung Swan in there somewhere. Yeah, Jung Swan. So the Marshall Sportist or Jung Swan was a big part of the story for 18 years. So it was. So yeah, it was part of the Cillian saga. So they're around. We get to meet them in destinations, even if some of them were a little funky. Oh, the young Sa. Speaking of which, the Galaxy class, New Orleans class variant, the Starship USS Young Sa. Young Master Warrior. Oh, interestingly enough, this is an earlier model from 1994, and it's basically sort of a gold copper color. Similar to, you might recognize it as being similar from that angle to the Discovery, which had a copper version. It's a coincidence, unless that was online for a while. Maybe they were inspired. That'd be awesome. But yeah, but yes, the Young Sa has 4 engines, similar to the Stargazer and some of the other ships. It also looks kind of like the newer Stargazer, actually. But yeah, yeah. When I saw that new Stargazer, I was like, oh, it's the Young Sa. It's commanding the Young. Rios is commanding the Young Sa. All right, it works. I mean, Rios could have been at Jung Swan. Why not? He probably was. There's the Young Sa. Yeah. I'm assuming it's more powerful because it has more engines, but it's not ridiculously powerful. And Youngsa is Korean for Young Master Warrior. There's also a bunch of other phrases like Hyungsa is different. With an H, Hyungsa, that means the duelist. That sounds really cool. The duelist. Oh, goody. Now we enter the weird phase. Now we enter the weird phase of my attempt to do starboard side, mainly starboard side, CAD drawings of the other ships, of some of the other ships. And sometimes with mixed results. Very flat looking, two-dimensional looking, like ship models here. So the first one we have is a version of a ship that is merely called 4-Engine Ship 1. It seems to have a Intrepid-like saucer section as opposed to a other one, and it is, I guess the 4 engines are in line, so it's a stage prop. So it's like a variant of the Saber class. So it's a stage prop. It's just not labeled that. That's probably what it is. But yeah, it's a spade front engine thing. It's got phaser strips. That's neat. It's got the little light blinkies. It's got those. It's got RKS thrusters. I could redo it. A version of it appears in the Kaimara movies. In the background, there's a version of the ship. It kind of resembles the Cardassian junk a little bit. So that's kind of what I was thinking about. But yeah, I can't really say much about it other than that's what it is. It could be a Youngsa variant, but I don't think it is. So yeah. That's all I got really on it. I'm going to go next. This next ship is said to be another church ship, the Exodus. It's a Miranda class, clearly. But it's slightly different because it has like the torp launchers stuck to the engines, which is interesting. So they have these torpedo phaser things on the engines, above the engines, to keep somebody from doing what Kirk did to Khan in Star Trek in the Reliant by having like physically phasers mounted on the engines. That's interesting. Well, there's no roll bar though, so it's a variant of that. Not sure how that would work, or maybe it's got only one engine. No, I think it's got two. I think it's a variant. It does look similar to some of the FASA ships, the scout ships with the one engine, but I think it's supposed to have two. And yeah, it's a Miranda variant. Yeah, so it's interesting. Oh. Yeah, so that's all I got to say about that. I mean, we could do it again, but I would do it a little different. 24th century style, make it 25th century style. Let's go on to the next one. Just because, yeah. Okay. Oh, next we have a ship model kit that was fun that I'm sure a lot of Trek people have done, and I've seen some of their ones doing, including Foley and the other guys. I think they did one too. What do you do when your classic Trek model AMT toy, the engines break off and they cannot be stuck back onto the... They can't be stuck back onto the hull. They're just not going to go back on. I mean, you could go through all the trouble of putting metal bars, rebars, down in the engines with some screws and stuff, and mounting them back up, but they keep sagging and falling off. So what you do is you take them off, and you glue those engines right up inside the saucer going this way, beep, out the back, and you just glue them in there really hard. You stick them in the saucer so they're pointing out diagonally underneath, or you can put them on the saucer underneath, and then you bolt them in, and then you have a new class of ship. You have a very fossil-like class of ship, as Krause pointed out in the review. It's like, they're all kind of similar, aren't they? They're kit bashing. Even though he kind of was tongue-in-cheek about that, because some of his stuff is a little kit bashing, but it's a good kit bashing. Yeah, just don't. Yeah. This appears to be a render of with the Photoshop of the flyer, but done a little better so you can kind of tell what's going on. It's a flyer with classic Trek-looking hull, but the engines, the nacelles, look like they're from the motion picture. But it's supposed to be the motion picture. I think they just didn't do the detail right. A flyer or flyer A, with the funny solar sail thing stuck to the top of it. Fossa-like, yes, but I don't think I was inspired by Fossa. I think it was more like, I'll just do this spaceship. It's kind of fun. Do it again, and we did a render of it. Changed things around and said, hey, those engines look better going diagonal. So, yeah, that's all I've really got to say about that one. Okay, the next ship is another version of the Flyer. This version of the Flyer is Next Generation era, or maybe just prior to the Next Generation era. The engine looks a little bit like the Enterprise C engine. This by 2360's Flyer. Flyer C, maybe, or B or something. That version of the ship, the sails are dipped differently. I kind of like the idea there. If you just remove the sails, it would look like some sort of a funky variant of the New Orleans class, and that's fine. But yeah, I kind of like it. Kind of works. Sure, but yeah, even though it's very rudimentary and no details, the top section looks sleek. Let's go on to the next one. Oh no. This one has been popping up in like screen things and everything. Sometimes this is now I know that on Enterprise they tended to make the Vulcan ships have a ring engine section. Well, I didn't. I made a Vulcan ship that looks more like something out of Distant Destinies, and put nacelles on it, and some kind of weird rocket pod on the very, very top. It calls it the Theorem, and of course, because they would totally name a ship the Theorem. Yeah, and painted it really, really orangey red. Yeah, I kind of like it. And not as a Vulcan ship, maybe as something else. But it's fun. Right angles and everything. Well, yeah, maybe it's a Vulcan. Maybe it's like a weird, like just to like go, kind of thing. I like parts of it. I think it would do good to do a rewrite of some sort of alien ship that's maybe what it is in the episode Who Watches the Watchers, those proto-Vulcans have at last achieved a spacecraft, and they've built that as their like spacecraft. They've found like somehow technology, and even though they were supposed to be like Stone Age, but they got a hold of it somehow. But because they're still Stone Age, they're using it on the ocean. And it's more of a pirate ship. Nar! That'd be cool. This merely says that this ship is Arrowhead class. I'm assuming that it resembles that weird IDIC symbol ship, except with this saucer section IDIC turned the right way, so it's a spade going forward like an arrow. Yeah, they fixed it and made this ship variant. Yeah, it's interesting. It has Saber, Akira class idea going on there. If you put the engines underneath, it'd be Akira above the Saber. Yeah, so it has that element. Since these are all 2002 or 3 at this point, makes sense. Yeah, you could redo it. You could do it as a hero ship and something. Yeah, I could redo that. But yeah, I haven't much else to say about that one. Next. That would appear to be... Starship Cambriana, named after the Pine Hill Street, is apparently the Cambriana. It's very similar to that other ship you just saw. There's only some minor differences between that and the Ambassador class. I guess I decided it's Ambassador class, Excelsior class variant, mashup thing. But it does look very similar to the lower decks Excelsior B thing that flew around. That weird ship that Captain Gomez was commanding. But yes, yeah, so, yeah, the Cambriana. They wouldn't name a ship after a street on Earth that had no significance. It's funny. It's silly Trek. It's funny as a silly Trek, but yeah, that's as silly the other way toward like insignificance that Pine Hill ship that they would have that they would even bother at all. Said the Cambriana. Yeah. But there's the Cambriana, and there it is. Next. Okay, next we have a Klingon ship. A Klingon ship. And I decided that in my Klingon ship design here, which was actually shrunk really small, and I had to blow it up to be able to see it. It's silly that the necks of the ships are always so skinny and squat. So I made my Klingon ship have a big buffed up neck, like similar to the battle cruiser from Next Generation, less similar to a bird of prey. It has armor around the sides. It's like an armored cruiser, only because I didn't do any details on it. It is not a D7. The Trek Cards is not a D7, and it's not a bird of prey. It's somewhere in between. It's almost Romulan looking, but yeah. It's supposed to be called the what is it? Okay, boing, whatum. Now you remember that funky Enterprise that was ridiculous? That hell with the engine stuck all over it. Well, this is the Enterprise H. I did a model of this as the Enterprise F, but this is the Enterprise H, and it appears to have disguised nacelles, I guess, and an extra, like a Prometheus class looking like double nacelle on top that looks slightly smaller and different, and lots of kibble all over it. Very Drexler. But yes, could see redoing that as some other kind of like a dreadnought class ship. Definitely inspired the later Chimera stuff and models. Definitely had some influence on those. Just from the way it looks, it's interesting. Not as an Enterprise, maybe some other ship. Kind of like it. It's okay. And then we come to next. Then we come to the Enterprise G. Henry G. Enterprise G with this is back in the 2000s, like 20 years ago. And we have this weird looking Enterprise model with Dominion looking engines, purple Dominion engines, and it has. It's not a cutout where the thing is like the model, but kinda, yeah, it's kinda Shangri-La is a little bit, but you'll see some other later ones that are even more so, and that's because we were just copying the stuff we saw in the net, but they were too, so it's all good. But yeah, this is a kind of its own thing. You could make a Starship class out of this. It's very reminiscent. Actually, looking at it now, it's very reminiscent of that weird that weird ship that Riker commanded at the end of Picard season 1 that they threw in at the last minute. The Zheng He. It looks like that, which is of course a Zheng Swan ship. And that showed up. It looks like that. It looks a lot like that ship. It's not nacelles, a little different. There's not so much a bubble on the top, but the hull from that side with the curved weird deflector kind of it looks like a Shunky. Yeah. So then we come to what is this next? A partly unfinished, but it's got Aztecing. It has Aztecing on it. Dreadnought, Daedalus class looking Dreadnought, not Daedalus, Dreadnought class ship. Movie era Dreadnought class ship, definitely Vasa inspired. I would say definitely. Also, it looks kind of like Captain Foley's ship after the refit, that movie refit, for Captain Foley, many years before. Trek Yard started 2008 or something. It's before that. There you go. There it is. There's a side view of this the Dreadnought class ship. 3 engines are always cool, even though it breaks the 3-engine rule. And next ship is a slightly more sleek, lower down version of the same thing. This ship is that was That previous ship was the. It had a name, the Florida class. So this is just more of the Florida class, and then the next one is the Florida class. So the Florida class float ice ships, Sicilian float ice ships, and it's very much reminiscent of those. And yeah, it's not finished, so I'm not going to say much about it. But I'm not going to finish it. I'll do another version of it that'll look better. Then we come to finished one. So this is a Florida class finished, drawn up. It's got a big red back end, like a red tail, kind of like fighter plane painted on the back. Maybe it's a mirror one. And and it's that would be a bad idea. Let's paint the ship so that your enemies can really see the ending of your engines. Yeah, let's paint the end of your ship red, really bright red. They can totally zoom in on it and blow your ship up. Yeah, that's a good idea. No, but yes, there's the Florida class continuation of the ship. It's kind of neat. I think I could redo that. I think I would probably drop the third engine and just have it be like a light cruiser or something, maybe a heavy cruiser. Depends on where you put them. You put the two lower engines on there. And next. And then we come to other silly and goofy ships, such as the Gorbachev. Here's the Sicilian ship, the Gorbachev. Wow. Miranda class variant with a pod on top. Miranda class, Soyuz class, actually. Gorbachev. And yeah, it's that's kind of all it is. It's named after the premier of Russia from the 80s, the Gorbachev. And then we have, and there was a nod to that in Star Trek, the Starship Reagan under in Chimera, the movie. Clearly, the Chimera universe is different from Star Trek, though. Not that they have that. And the Carno's redeemed and all that. Here we have another ship, though. Next, here we have another ship called the Graham Cracker, but done as a TOS style Graham Cracker. From Star Crackers is Graham Cracker. So we have that, and that's funky. So it is funky looking. Similar to stage prop in the classic Trek ship, but closer down, slung down to the hull, very Fossa-like. I don't think it was inspired by them necessarily. I think it was more like some Starlog ships. But yeah, it's fine. It's kind of interesting. I would do something with it and redo it. Maybe if the engines weren't really movie era. But if they were, then it would make the ship look more movie era instead of less TNG era. But yeah, that's fine. And then we come to next. Then we come to the Starship Defiant. The Defiant. Deep Space Nine Defiant from the side. Looks pretty much like the Defiant. Nothing wrong with the model, really. I don't have much to say about the Defiant. It's fine for what it is, and if it's the Silius Artis version, that's fine too. It's called the Ineptitude in this version, which is funny. But yeah, the Ineptitude Defiant, one of the Defiant class ships. And next, I think that's from Silly Trek. The Ineptitude is from Starship. They're all from Starship locations. Next. The Las Vegas class Starship. It has a giant, ridiculous, point thing stuck on the top of the ship, and giant, glowing, overwrought, overpowered engines. And Universe class, super powered because it's gaudy. It's just really gaudy. It would be something the far out people would clearly fly. They would have that ship. That would be their ship. Or any other flamboyant planet. Perhaps the descendants of Trelane would also have such a ship, or maybe Harry Mudd. Yes. Harry Mudd would totally. Or Cyrano Jones would definitely have a similar ship in his shipyard if he had one. But yes, yeah, the Las Vegas class is gaudy, and I would totally redo a version of that for fun. So next is the what is this? Next is the Leviticus. Next is the Starship Leviticus, which looks like something out of Starship Picard. Really long, slim thing. Again, like the Shanghai and the Shinza. A little bit the Kraus TOS era Kraus ship, the sort of the TOS / 2009 era, the Endurance, a little bit of the Endurance in there. But I don't think this has pontoons like that. I think it just kind of looks like it from the side. It's more of a Drexler. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting. It's one of the ships from the Church Group, Cillian Space, during the Cillian Realm saga. That's what that ship is. And now we're going to go on to the next one. Yeah, it had no. I can't recall anything, but we'll go on to the next one. Let's see. What's this one? The next is another Jung Swan ship called the Musa. The Musa. Musa was the name of one of Grandmaster's dogs. The Musa is a ship that was in the series Starship Locations, the Jung Swan side. It was then stolen by the Mirror Universe and used as a Mirror Universe ship. The new version, they just made it the Mary Sue and saved themselves the trouble of just getting the other ship back. Yeah, so that was the Musa. Next, we're going to go on to the other one. The next ship is the classic Silly Trek starship, commanded by Tim Cantrell, the Power Master. Super dreadnought ship with at least 4 nacelles on each side. So overpowered was this ship that the Romulans tried to capture it. And then Tim, being insane in the story, decided, I'm just going to blow it up. I'm just going to wreck the ship, so they can't have it. Wreck the ship. Robert's attacking. I kind of like it, though. As a ridiculously overpowered battleship, it'd be kind of fun, like a battle dreadnought. Yeah, you could do something with that. A Leviathan, almost. Like a ridiculously overpowered Starfleet ship that you would only use if you had to, make that the mothership in a battle, and to have all the other ships circling around it, and you had to transport some really important dignitary guy that wouldn't be killed. I like how that it looks pseudo TOS era, 2288, roughly a little after the movies, during the movies, but a little after Star Trek V. I like how the weird little engine things kind of resemble someone's junk. Because of course, Jim is very big. But yes, yeah, it's impressive. I like the saucer section too. I like that side profile. It's good. Yeah. Next, the Power Master. And then we come to another Jung Swan ship, named for another of the dogs, Punge. Now, Musa and Punge means something, but I forget. I know what Fungu means something else, but that's not what it is. Fungu means to fart. But Punge is, I think, just I don't know, a warrior, a hunter, or something. Anyway, so it's not quite warrior, is it? It's something else, tracker or something. Anyway, which makes sense for the name of a dog. Maybe it tracks birds. Anyway, so we have a Punge, a ship from the series, from Starship Locations, and it fought in the battles. It was a Marshal Sportiest later on in the rewrites. This one ship, yeah. I forget who commanded that ship, but yeah. Next. And then we come into another Klingon ship variant. But it's called a Romulan ship. So it's like the Klingon ship, but it's a Romulan variant from the Romulan Holiday episode. Romulan variant. They've made this engines a little different. Made them more like the Warbird engines. And put that little little eyes on the sides of the hull. They make them look like eyes, like a bird, and make them look like talons on the sides. Yeah, so on the sides of the wings, talons on the wings. Okay, yeah. So it's a Romulan ship, Romulan variant, very neat looking. And interestingly enough, yeah. Okay, another Romulan ship. Next. Okay. Next we have a ship that looks very much like it belongs in the new Picard show. Looks like the new Stargazer, and it predates it by 20 years, or 18 years, I guess you'd say, 19 years. This is the Starship Scarborough, I believe, from the side. Yep, it's the Scarborough from the side. So from the side, it looks like the Stargazer from the director Stargazer, but from the top, it doesn't. So it isn't, but it looks like it from the side. Commander Calkins at the Trek Yards would say it's very sleek. Next we come to the Defiant-like variant, the Ciliosaurus. The Ciliosaurus goes way back to the classic Silly Trek. They gave the cadets a silly ship. Well, sort of pseudo-cadets. They weren't really cadets yet. They were in high school. They gave them a ship for some reason. That was probably not a good idea. So the Ciliosaurus is sort of a captain's yacht, but larger. And it was embedded inside. There was a version of it embedded inside the Chimera from the 2003, 2004 era. And so 2380s, early 2380s. So, yeah. And this is one of them. This is the Ciliosaurus. And that's what it is. And it's silly. It's a big saucer section. Okay, the next ship from the side is a stage prop. That weird variant with the blocky saucer that has the 4 engines in a row. Stage prop. And here you've kind of staggered something a little bit. From the side, it looks like it could be on Picard or in Discovery. But yeah, this is before 2006. So, stage prop. Yeah, silly Trek ship. The next one is the Sweeney. This is the different ships at San Jose State, because it went on to San Jose State after Evergreen. San Jose State had its own version of the Silly Trek role-playing game, Starship Locations, and they had their own thing. And by 1994, they were at San Jose State. So the Starship Locations came about in San Jose State, not Evergreen. But we did retcon that said that Silly Trek at Evergreen was actually just that, kind of encapsulated enfolded into it, assimilated it into the other story. And here is a ship from that, the Sweeney. Usually the ships were named after the buildings. This is named after one of the buildings, Sweeney Hall. Very blocky from the side. Very, very polygony. Yeah, it's fine. I would have to I would consider redoing something like it. If I was going to redo it, something like it. Similar enough that, I wouldn't redo that ship because that wouldn't matter, but something like it. Anyway, next. So like those Universe class ships, the next one here is Terminal Shock. The ship that's just so ridiculously powerful and has such a giant saucer section that, it could only have come from high schoolers that were 17 when they thought of it. Yeah. But what's funny is, the original name for the ship, before we changed it to the Terminal Shock, and we were emulating Terminator apparently, was the Hemorrhoid. Yes, boys in butt humor. Yes, the Hemorrhoid. There's the Terminal Shock. Yes. Because farts and stuff are funny. Terminal Shock. The ship didn't fart, but it had giant engines, and it could go very, very fast. Ridiculously fast. Crossing galaxies. Yes, the Terminal Shock. The next ship is another shot of the Theorem, but slightly more refined. Looks like it could have a ring engine on the side to resemble more of the Vulcan ship. That looks a little better, actually. I kind of like that. Maybe not as a Vulcan ship, but maybe as something else. But if you made the ring thing, it's a Vulcan ship. That is actually better than the other one. And if it's the same, and I'm just not remembering it, it doesn't matter. Okay, then we come to the next. Now they're just making shit up. What's it called? Oh, it's the Orion. The next ship will be the USS Orion. And that's really tiny. There's actually a fan series called Orion, but it's not. It's a coincidence. But, yeah, that series did not exist yet when this was done. There's a little bitty Orion ship. It's too blocky and too polygony. I'd have to think about that one a little bit. Let me do that one. Next, we come to the Voyager. Voyager. Yeah. The Voyager. And the Voyager. And there it is, Janeway's ship. Voyager. With the engines up this time. So. Next we come to a slightly better shot of the Galaxy/New Orleans variant, the Yongsa, which is probably the best one in the lot so far. Save the best for almost last on this lot. The Yongsa has some cool stuff going on. Yeah. But really overpowered super engines are kind of silly. Yeah, it doesn't really need that. But there's the Yongsa in all its glory. The young Master Warrior ship. And what is that? The next ship is an unpainted, uncolored polygon mess called the Yerba Buena, named after the Evergreen side, and the street that Evergreen is near, bordering on. And it's not finished, but there it is, kept for all posterity for 20 years, almost 20 years. The Yerba Buena. That's all there is. Next we have some movie poster art at the Chimera in space. The Chimera movie poster art, promising this movie. What's going to happen? And then we get to the other poster that says, promising 2007. The script wasn't even done in 2007. It kept getting rewritten. So. It wasn't until 2012 we started shooting it. But yeah. The Phoenix would rise. Because the ship was Phoenix class. Originally it was called the Phoenix, apparently. Okay, then we come to some interesting ships. Granted, this is still a long time ago. I think these last ones are 2010. 2009, 2010. The last ones are 2009, 2010. It's 2009, 2010. This is right after J.J. Abrams' influence on Star Trek. And you can kind of tell. Because our buffed out, funky looking Enterprise F. The buffed out, funky looking Enterprise F is kind of nuts looking. And it does have some similarities to something called the Shangri-La, though. It has the cutouts and the engines going this way and the torso. And it's so there was a version of the Shangri-La class way back in 2008, 2009 that was evidently online, and we saw it. We said, that looks cool. That should be a ship. It also looks like the Endurance a little bit, and that's cool too. But I'm sure I was trying for Enterprise E, but bigger and badder and more buffed and bulkier. And also, they were making a new game back then called Star Trek Online, and that was the contest. It didn't win. No, we've seen the one that won. It's way better, but I really don't like that pontoon style for the... I know that's the Enterprise F. That's established as of Picard, Season 3, and the game. But really, some of that was a little funky. I would have filled in the saucer thing and not had pontoons and spaces for enemy ships to fly into and blow the saucer section off the ship. Yeah, I would have filled those in. Empty space. Why would you do that? But yeah, it's my version would have been a little contest would have been there it is. The Enterprise F, just a little bit more buffed than the E. more jacked up, like it's been doing roids. And it's like, just a little more jacked up. And then a little bit Shangri-La, but before the Shangri-La. Way before. But yeah, he was at conventions and stuff. A version of the Enterprise F that it did back in the day. Here is another, slightly more refined version of the Enterprise F. In that same time period. The contest, yes. And made a model that looked kind of different than that. And it became the Titan as well. So there was like a version of it became the Titan A as well. But this one is closer to the Shangri-La. So clearly the Shangri-La was around back then, or at least something like it was around back then. And the Buddha saucer thing and the engines. Oh, yeah. So this stuff is from a long time ago. It's from 2010. So 2009, 2010. And then we come to another ship, which is, I think, one of the Chimera variants. That's what that is. Chimera variant. And yeah, so it's also cool. So you have, it kind of looks like the Lost model there. It's similar to some of the other ones. I think the engines are a little small. Just appears the engines are small on that. A little funky. Next, here is a sort of an attempt to do a drawing view from the front of this Chimera ship. Probably to intend to like do just a drawing on the computer of the ship. No longer a hand drawing. This is a computer drawing, probably with Photoshop 5, something like that. So here we have one of the ships. This is the Cillian from the starboard. Cillian. The Cillian is also the graham cracker. So yeah, Cillian. And here's another shot of the Cillian from the side. Let's get through this. Cillian from the side. And it's the Cillian. It looks good. And there's no reason to keep like harping on it. Then next, the Trekkie. Front and back on the Trekkie. Star Trek Trekkie. The Trekker. Also from Silly Trek. And the next is a shot of the Dwight Bentel, also named after a building that's named after somebody. He lived to be over 100 years old. He was the Dwight Bentel. So we have the Flyer at Evergreen, which didn't have a building called the Flyer, but at San Jose State, the second part of the academy, we had ships are named after buildings. So we have the Dwight Bentel, which was repurposed as the San Jose State, rebuilt as the San Jose State ship in the current one. But here you can see kind of those elements, though. You can see kind of like, okay, this is meant to be two different saucers, and you can kind of see that a little bit of the Flyer business going on there. It's similar, yeah. It's like you took elements from those and made the other one. So the Dwight Bentel is interesting. The guy lived to be 100. He was the guy that named the building after for the journalism department, the Spartan Daily. So the ship is called the Spartan in our version, just to make it make sense. It's the Spartan instead. Why would it be named the building? It'd be named the Spartan. That makes more sense. Going back to it's a paper it's named after. Like the Flyer was named after the paper. And next we have the USS Cillian from underneath. Starship Cillian from underneath. And then these are the models. These were actually done after the models were done, so they're models. Cillian, the graham cracker. That is the next one is the next one is the Titan A. A version of the Titan A that looks more like the Defiant. It's very crushed looking. It doesn't really look like that as a model at all, but it looks more like the Excelsior. But that's the Titan, crushed Titan. Next is the Titan from the side, making it look more like it actually looks. Resembling that ship from the Shang-Chi, but it's not. Interesting. Here is the Lost Chimera ship model. That's a very good rendition of it. And there it is. There's the Phoenix class Chimera from the 2000s, and it was going to be in the movie too, and it was on the cover. And there's a little hull registry and all that. And on the second take, you get to see the hull registries on this first one. And then the second one. Yeah. So there's not much to say other than that's the Chimera. That's the ship. There it is, the Chimera, one version of it. And here we have side views of the Chimera. Yep, the Chimera ship from the back and the front and the side. And the side, now when we did the 3D render, I tried to do the 2D render from the model, and it got all crunched and stretched because each piece didn't match the front at all. They didn't. Yeah, it's weird. It's like when you try to, something went wrong because that proportion looks nothing like those other proportions. That's extremely off. I don't know what happened there. I have no idea what happened there. The proportions are off. And then we come to the Chimera again from the side. You can see it like from the side, and then when you stretch it, you pull it forward, and you say, like, I'm gonna put the engine here and the saucer. From the top, it looks fine. It looks like a Starfleet vessel. But from the side, it's a mess. Yeah. And there's from the bottom. The Chimera from the bottom. All right. So there it is from the bottom, and with the wings and stuff on the other side, which he references. Also, that's the next one is the Titan A. Titan A looking like an Excelsior crossed with another one. It looks more like Eve's than it does the other guy, actually. Because that makes sense. Krauss wasn't around yet. And then there's the Cillian ship, the Trekker from the top. The Trekker from the top, and that's cool. And the Trekker from the side, stretched out, looking funky again. It's weird. It's just weird. I don't know what's going on with that. Next, looks like the Titan again, I guess. What is that? That is the Cillian, not the Titan. Yeah. That is the Titan from the top, from the underside. Like the underside or the top? The top, from the top. Yeah. And this is my version of the Titan, which they did not take at Star Trek Online. They took the Luna class one instead. And here we have Cillian, the Cillian on the top view. That looks cool from the top. They look cool from the top. They just kind of, and there's the Trekker again from the top. Trekker again from the top. And here's a shot of our fleet in space over a planet. It's very cool. Yeah, it looks neat. The engines are a little off scale, but it still looks cool. Here's a weird, I think is that the Bentel? What is that? Here's another ship, Bentel. Here we have other variants of the Chimera, which resemble more the I keep saying Proust. He's Krauss. Proust was there too, but here we have an interesting variant of the Chimera design. We have a Titan for Chimera from later on in the 2010s. So the Titan for the Chimera is starting to come together as a model. We have a very pretty hero shot here. That's neat. I like that. This hero shot of the Chimera is very cool. Yeah, it's on the wall. Here we have a side on front view of the Chimera 2005. So these are a long time ago. These are a long time ago. And a side view of the same. The ship, and yeah, it's cool. It's very, very intricate like that. There's a ship over a planet for the Chimera. Yeah, it's fine. Side view, and again, it just crunches up. It crunches up and doesn't look right. Something's wrong. And there's kind of another shot of that same ship, but from underneath, I think. that is, yeah, underneath him. And then the this other weird super chimera, yes, 8272400, earlier chimera concept art. Yeah, that's not the call letter. Psst. That's the call letters of the chimera from the Dreadnought class one from the game. Just so you know, that's what the early game one looked like, right there. That's the early game one. Before the other guy redesigned it. There it is. There it is. And then we come to another shot of the flyer in space. Because why not have another shot of the flyer in space? And yeah, that's just it. And then we come to another shot of the chimera looking over a beautiful planeting shot. Really neat looking shaded thing. Ships of the line. No, not worthy of ships of the line. But very cool. Very cool. And some kind of a variant. What is that? Another chimera variant. And there's colored. Another chimera variant. Yeah, it's more variants for chimera. All right, and overcoming colored. The overcoming colored, and an attempt to do a saucer section of the Coeluriosaurus, and it's an attempt. It's okay. Here we have another chimera shot. It seems to be similar to the other ones, but it's not. And then we have another shot of the flyer, or something similar, and the last shot is of a flyer. So, yeah. So, I don't know if you learned anything, but this is the end of the slideshow. I don't know how the heck we're going to edit this, but there you go. I hope you enjoy it.